Full story. In 1938, in a cold town in the north of England, there lived a man named William Cran. He was the most famous dollmaker of his time. Princes and nobles came from all over Europe to buy his works. But behind that kind face, there was a secret. William's wife, Margaret, had died years ago, or so people thought. But every night, from the basement of his house, the sound of laughter and feminine conversation would come. William would always say, "Margaret is still with me, just in a different form." Decades later, her house was turned into a museum. Laura, a young art student, decided to visit it for her thesis on the history of dolls. In the basement, she found a secret door that was locked. On the door was written, "Margaret's room." When she finally broke the lock, she was faced with a room full of dolls, all of them resembling a woman with black hair and green eyes. One of them smiled, and in Laura's voice recording, a soft voice said, "You're finally back, William." In the footage later found by the police, Laura is talking to the dolls, and a voice in her ear says, "You must last too." The last shot of the camera is of the museum's new display case with a newly made doll resembling Laura labeled. The final creation. A doll of Black Lake. Full story. In the cold forests of Scotland, there was a lake called Black Lake. The locals said that no one should go near it at night because something was watching from under the water. In 1985, a young couple named Alex and Nina moved into a cottage by the lake. In the shed, they found a wooden box with a burned sign on it. A small doll in a red dress, a porcelain face, and lively eyes. From that night on, Nina began to have nightmares. In her dreams, a girl in a red dress would drown in the water and scream, "Give me my doll back!" Every morning, the doll was in a different place. One day by the bed, one day on the breakfast table, one day by the lake. And one night, Alex disappeared forever. When the police arrived, they saw only a boat floating and the doll sitting on the front seat, smiling. But the photo the police took was even more terrifying. In the reflection of the water, Alex's face could be seen, looking up from below the surface. They say that every year on the anniversary of the incident, the doll comes to the surface. And if anyone hears it say, "Come back," it means they've been chosen. The final performance. The full story. In the 1960s, there was an old theater in London called the Marionette Hall, where famous puppet shows were held. But its final performance was never finished. The director, a genius named Henry Wheeler, was planning to stage a new play called The Dancing Doll. He created a life-size puppet that moved with hidden strings and a complex mechanism. But his colleagues said that the puppet sometimes moved uncontrollably. On the opening night, on stage, the puppet suddenly shouted to the audience, "I am not free." And then it strangled one of the actors. The lights went out, and chaos reigned. By the time the police arrived, 11 people were dead, and Henry had disappeared. All that was left was a puppet with his face on it. 15 years later, Emily, a young director, decided to stage the same play again. But from the moment rehearsals began, strange things began to happen. The lights would go out, the sounds wouldn't record, and the shadow of the original puppet would appear on the videos, even though no one had brought him. On the night of the original performance, just as the final scene was about to begin, the original puppet appeared on stage and said, "The play isn't over yet, Henry, come back." The lights went out. When they came back on, Emily had disappeared. But there was a new puppet on stage, with blue eyes and a director's uniform.